my pen cap. Welcome back. Operation Chokepoint is a government plan that critics say aims to put disliked companies out of business by restricting their access to banking services. Targets range from escort agencies, to hookah providers, ammunition makers, and casinos. No casinos. Subcommittee hearings that are investigating the program began today. So let us talk about it with a glorious panel of experts. Guy Benson is a political editor at townhall.com. Charles Cook is a writer for the National Review, and he's written the Conservatarian Manifesto, which is very good, and you should read his book immediately. And John Tierney, a science columnist at the New York Times, who has also read Charles' book.
Oh.
Yes. Gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. Let's talk about Operation Chokepoint. I mean, this is such a horrific, scary thing the government is doing, forcing banks to force businesses out of business. What's your take, John Tierney?
Yeah, I mean, the power to regulate is the power to destroy, and we should remember that every time we give these agencies power. I mean, if private companies were doing this, basically colluding to try and put someone out of business, they would be on trial, they'd be going to prison, and the government does this. You can't sue them, you can't really even stop them unless Congress tries to intervene.
And that's what I said at the top. There's no redress. Yeah. So if you're targeted by this program, and there's several people who have small businesses, and they've recorded the conversations that they've had with their banks, and they're like, hey, sorry, we can't afford the audits that the federal government is going to give us if we don't put you out of business. Now, people say, oh, you're being overly dramatic, comparing this program to something in Soviet Russia or Venezuela. What do you think, Charles?
Well, I think it's not just about the power to destroy, it's about the power corrupting. There is on paper a good reason for a program like this. You could sell it certainly to the public. You could suggest, well, you don't want drug dealers to be able to run bank accounts. You don't want...
Speak for yourself.
But that's how it would be sold. But of course, once you give the government power, as you suggested, then they can run amok with it. I don't want the government having this capacity at all.
No, I agree with you completely. And that's the thing. Like, it started out targeting these payday scams, right? But then they shoved a whole bunch of other businesses under there. And, that's how they justify it, by saying, well, there may be a few bad entities here, so let's go ahead and destroy the lot.
Nope. See, this is just another right-wing fever dream, paranoid hoax. It is inconceivable that the Obama administration would ever take the federal bureaucracy and weaponize it against its ideological opponents. That just couldn't happen. I can't imagine a scenario under which that would happen, so y'all are crazy.
Or it's the worst thing ever, and Sean Duffy is absolutely right. And it's sad that we've gotten to this place where, people don't even bat an eye anymore. I think people are so used to being nanny-stated and over-regulated that it's almost hard to shake people into outrage. I mean, how do you get people worked up about something like this?
I mean, it is amazing that the IRS has done this, basically just targeted the political opposition, under the direction of Democratic senators, and we just shrug at that. And so this is just more of the same. It's someone we don't like, so we're just going to use the executive branch to do what we want.
I mean, I compare it to Obamacare, because say you had a couple of problems within health care, but Obamacare tried to solve those and about 50 million other things and has created such a horrible situation.
Well, I think to answer your question, how do you start pushing against it? Because consequentialism is so rampant on the left, you do hear people say, well, guns are bad, ammunition goes in guns, therefore targeting companies could be a good thing. And you always have to point out in that situation, especially if you're on the right as we are, well, a lot of people think that marijuana is bad. What if the government went after suppliers in Colorado? You always have to bring it back to what people who disagree with you politically care about. And I think that's the point here, is that it's not just about the federal government having this under Obama. Many people like Obama, many people dislike guns. It's about what a future president could do with this power, and that's terrifying when you start to think about it.
And we have to think about it in those terms, because every administration is going to have different objections with various businesses, and you cannot let them apply this broadly.
Right, and when the ends justify the means, you have to, as Charles said, sort of flip it around on them and say, okay, what happens when you don't like the ends?
Yeah.
Right, then you have to get them thinking, aha, this could happen to us. And that's the way you combat a host of things like some of what the current president's doing on executive overreach.
Yeah, and it's the